Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored by the following: DJ Event Planner, Electro Voice, Max Photo Booth and DJ Booth Design, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, and Instant DJ Requests, along with the DJNTV Insiders at DJNTVtraining.com.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Monday night. We made it. You survived the hardest day of the work week for those schmucks who have the day jobs. For us as DJs, it's like your first, it's like your Saturday, right? It's like, you just came off the luck. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a great night tonight. We are going to try not to be Debbie Downers. And MJ's going to try not to, play music while we're trying to talk.
And then our show gets bumped off Facebook. It's like, no! Oops, that's not the right one. I want to put that one right there. Alrighty. I think we're ready.
Yeah.
Everything's in place. Everything's in place.
Good.
We got people joining us on Facebook. We got people joining us on YouTube. We got people out there on Twitch. Oh, it's just a fabulous day.
Aw. Hey, everybody.
Fantabulous day. So guys, tonight I wanted to talk about music because this is something people have been kind of talking about a little bit on the sides. Specifically that the whole concept of moving from owning your music, having your music on your computer to streaming is in the works, and it is in the future at some point is what people have been reporting it. And there's been things like, for those of you who are into the Apple world, which is what I am, there's been some things that have happened in the Apple world in the last two operating systems that have made us think that this might be something legitimate and real. And then there's been did some more snooping around over the weekend and such. And we've got some mixed results on another aspect, but we're going to talk a little bit about what happens when, beyond getting music from our pools, we can't get a hold of music that we can play on our software. What are we going to do? Or what's going to happen with that? So we're going to dig into that. Yeah.
I have one word to answer that question. YouTube.
Well, and I think that's going to be that concept of, truthfully, of people stealing music. I think this is going to become a real thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this becomes something that we definitely had to worry about because the pools are great and all, but for the most part, most of the legitimate ones are servicing currents. Yeah. And in order to go back and get the old stuff, you have to get videos or something like that. And so as a result, if you're attempting to stay legitimate, at some point you have a problem because you're like, well, I'll just buy it off of Amazon or I'll buy it off of iTunes, and that becomes an issue if that's not available. So it's like, where do you turn?
Exactly. And for the longest time, Apple Music was something that I used a lot when there would be that one song. It's somebody's comes up and says, hey, can you play that song off this album? And in many cases, I've got my CD collection back here somewhere, And I know actually it's like, gosh, I haven't played that song since I had the CD. And as an example, there was a Bob Dylan. I haven't played Bob Dylan more than twice. First time I bought the CD for a wedding, and then somebody was at a show last fall, and they're like, "Hey, could you play a song from Bob Dylan?" And he threw some green on the table. It's like, I got pretty good internet. Sure, I'll go buy it. And I go to in Bob Dylan's greatest hits. Like, you know what? I'm just going to buy the whole thing. Click, boom, bought it, and it was on. And I've been able to play it on my computer. Now we just updated my son's computer and got him set up on one, and none of those songs are playable anymore because they have changed their whole methodology of how they work in their new operating systems.
Clarify. I want to clarify before I say what I was going to say. It's a DRM thing, just so people kind of know what's going on with that. Right? Explain to them a little bit how Mac is kind of controlling a little bit of that. Yeah,
the DRM, basically, they have put in some digital right management tools into their music so that only, it isn't iTunes anymore, only music, Apple Music, and really only Apple software can play it. So you've got this song, and the early way people have been mentioning how they're working around this is they just load everything up on their phone. And they're running their phone in as another audio source. So you've got your ability to mix and scratch and do overlays and everything, and then we go to our phone. And we go back to the controller, and we can mix and do this, and we can do that, and we can drop in this, and then we can do the stem stuff, and we go back to our phone. It's exciting. I'm so looking forward to that.
I know another way that you can get those songs.
Uh-huh.
By sending me a direct check or cash. Through PayPal or cash, you can have the songs you want. Those are two. I've just solved your problem twice. You can go to YouTube or just send me money. So is it the end of the show, or are we going to keep going?
We'll just put your Venmo thing up on there.
Yeah, but I do get offers all the time for my entire library, and I don't sell it just because I'm now looking at exactly what you're talking about. That it's going to be tougher for newer DJs to get some of this stuff, and I'm going to be like, I got it, dude. You don't. I'll take the gig. Thank you. Next.
And I think that's going to be a real part of us going forward. Is I think this could lead back to the days when that music was tougher to get and tougher to deal with. And it's not so much that you might have had, like our situation, 1,600 songs we have are dead to virtual DJ. And yes, there's workarounds. We could have it, and you could have the music app on the computer.
I'm guessing they're dead to all the softwares, right? Not just virtual.
Correct. Yes, it is.
You think that virtual's not working? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's dead to everything but Apple's proprietary software. So you're sitting there with that, and it's like, okay, so now what does that mean for those folks who didn't have it? It used to be when people would say, hey, how do we get a music library? And it's like, well, you take about $500 to Apple or to iTunes, and you can buy a really good, a lot of the old reliables. And then get a subscription somewhere, and you're pretty much set. Well, those days are kind of gone. That you can't do that like we used to, which is, on one hand, it's scary for those of us who had so much money invested into that music. On the flip side, there's a part of it that's kind of intriguing, because could this lead to separating the DJs who are the starting out DJs? Is it going to be one of those? The barrier to entry is going to be higher. And make it more difficult for folks to get in.
Well, here's a question that I have, and maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. But is this something that's, because you mentioned a couple of times it's built into the Mac operating system? Is this something that you've seen or run into with the PC side?
Yes, it will be on the PC side also. It's just that it's got to be, if you still have iTunes and it functions on your computer, then you're still good. But they're going to, they're depreciating iTunes, which is the software direction to be able to pay for or to buy individual songs. Mm-hmm. And then once that's gone, there's just no way you can do anything. All you can do is, you have Apple Music and you pay for everything and you get to download. So that's kind of really a sad reality of the direction everything is going right now with that.
Is it sad?
Yes.
It is a little bit, again, because of that, but it could be one of those things where in the long run, it is a good thing, because it could be that separating thing that before somebody could have taken. Give me all your requests. I'll go buy them on Apple Music. Yes, now they can make it, they could still go with their subscription and they could go find all those songs and put them into a playlist and stream it, or they can, if you can download and you can play it off that, but it's not the mixing isn't as good as Virtual DJ. Even if you just set Virtual up to do it by itself, it's going to do a better job than Apple Music will, as Apple Music fades one out and brings the next one in.
What about programs like Virtual and Record Box that have streaming services?
Now that's going to be, I think that's an area in which they're going to have to continue to up their game a little bit, because there are services that are there, but they're not complete music-wise. And if they can be able to fill in some of those holes and be able to have, kind of the bigger hits from the oldies are really where the problem lies. Getting the newer music.
Between Virtual DJs, iDJ Pool, and Deezer, I don't think there's anything I can't get. And I have had people challenge me to see if it's there. And between those, I could DJ the whole night off of that and never need anything else, ever. So that's where I think it's coming to, because there is, I'm telling you, the one club in West Virginia, with the college place, there are people that come in there to do sets that do their 100% of their entire night off online. No downloaded music whatsoever. So there are DJs already into that.
Yeah, and that's
one thing. The one thing that I think I struggle with this is, we've talked about the whole. I don't remember how many years ago this was that we talked about it, but from the standpoint of, playing at certain places that you don't have internet connection. And so there was the ability to, pick the songs that you're going to do and to, in essence, download them for offline play, but and it's set up so that after so many days, it like kicks itself out. The thing that I have a struggle with that is just the fact that I would have to do that and set that up every so many weeks to download them. Now, if I could just be like, click, do all that again, like have a folder that I create, or almost like a hard drive space, if you will, that I would have set aside and said, okay, automatically do all those.
What do you mean?
Because Dan, the way at least Spotify is, you can download everything. I download like 7 or 8 different playlists on Spotify. And as long as my subscription's active, I don't have to re-download the songs. But if I sign out, the songs are unplayable for me. I'm referring to like Deezer and the IDJ Pool and things like that. Yeah, I'm aware of how Spotify works. And yeah, once you reconnect after, or have that online, it resets it. For Spotify.
Once every 30 days, once a month, whatever their billing period is a month. Yeah. You have to log on once a month. You don't have to do anything other than log on, and then it shows that you have a renewed license, and everything you had before is still there. That's at least once a month you have to sign on showing that you're still subscribed. Once every whatever they do it, 30 days. I don't know if they
Yeah. No, I get that. So it puts that entire grouping into your system?
Whatever you have chosen to download offline.
Okay.
What they're calling.
Yes.
It's there.
Okay, so that's what stays.
Okay,
that's
so
the piece that I was missing. Got it. I knew it did in Spotify. I wasn't sure for these other groups.
Yeah, they do give you the option in the IDJ Pool to put all of them in a separate folder. I forget what it's called. It's like digital downloads, it's called. Like it's built in there. So it gives you that option to keep all those separate if you choose to. But the more important thing is we've answered all these questions before. But let's take a step back. Something you shared with us before the show. What do people do if they're in your position, John? You've done some research that might save some people.
Yeah, and again,
a big night of crying.
There's a couple of different things out there. One, and let's just go back to Spotify. There are different applications out there. There's different desktop programs specifically that will allow you to pirate the songs from Spotify. Now, the problem with the Spotify ones is that the quality of the recording, or however they pull these songs, isn't as great as it sounds better on Spotify than it does from that service. So there's many of those little kind of under the radar services that are saying our sound is better. We can have better sound than they do, and they're out there. It's kind of I would say it's almost like downloading an MP3 from YouTube, which is easily done with a little Google searching. But there are apps out there that will, specifically talking Apple Music, that will go and they will convert a song from Apple Music to a MP3, or there's a couple of different methodologies for that. And if you're getting your lossless Apple Music stuff, this will convert it, but it's a one-to-one, because basically what it's doing is you don't hear anything, but it's playing the song and it's recording the song, and then it writes all the tags and adds all the meta information, and then exports it as a file that can be played anywhere. So that's truly what I did. The actual framework of that software, there's Chinese lights. That this company's got that light, and this company's got that light, and this company's got that light. They just have different name tag on them. That's what it really felt like. So I started using a couple of them, and each one had a different bug that was causing it to crash. And then I found one that actually functioned. The problem is when you have 1,600 songs and it takes approximately 6 minutes to do the conversion and to write the files. I started at Saturday, and what was it, 700 songs in, MJ? Is that what it was, 600, 700?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's roughly not quite half done, and it started Saturday. So it's been on there for, let's call it 36 hours straight of doing this. So it's not, taking any just background of the computer. It's just doing that. But it's going to take me another time.
But how long would it have taken you to go and find those songs from a download service?
There was a couple of songs I could not find. I literally was looking, and the only place I could find anything would have been YouTube to pull that. And it's like, gosh, I don't want to go from a really good version of that song to a crappier, that's just going to sound less on the sound system. So
I don't understand that, because you can download YouTube at the highest quality any MP3 could. I mean, if you're going lossless file, there's a difference. But number one, to have the song is to have the song, and number two, the guys who complain about like, oh yeah, it's a lossless file, but you're playing it on $250 speakers.
Yeah, exactly. When you're playing
Walk
it on
away
something.
from me before I
Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah, you pull those Gemini.
No, but again, the thing that we've said before is, yes, it says you are downloading it at 320, but is it really 320? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if it sounds like 320, would you consider? To me, if it sounds like 320, I'm happy enough. Or would you be happy that way?
If it sounds like it, but I've in a pinch had someone who requested a song who was only, like it only existed on YouTube, and so I've gone that route, right? And I played it through, and what it sounded like and what it sounded like going through the speakers is two very different things.
Yeah.
Like what I heard on my computer speakers, everything sounded great. When I put it through the amplified system, it didn't sound 320, even though it said it was 320.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, there could have been a multitude of things. It could, this was a third rate act. You know what I mean? This was not a national group that put their music up on YouTube. This was somebody who recorded their stuff and put it up. So some of the issue could have been within that. But I've known that there's also been issues that, it's condensed to make the streaming, simpler, to make it go faster, to take less space, to take less data, all the lovely stuff that goes with that. So some of it could also be that.
Or they just plain could have asked for a song that sucked on any level of level of.
Oh no, I'm talking about YouTube also like downgrades to make the data and all that go faster.
You ask people that are into like the really, really high, 4 and 8K video stuff, until YouTube really started putting it in there, they would complain constantly that, that YouTube's compression would kill their beautiful recordings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as good as a lossless file, but to me, I would rather legitimately have a crappy version of a song I could actually play, or not have that song.
Right.
Yeah,
But other people are the opposite way. If they had a crappy version, they wouldn't play it because they wouldn't be caught dead playing a crappy version. So it kind of depends on what you want to achieve. That's the way I think. I don't know.
So
a lot of questions. They're firing.
Yeah, they're going. You
chat.
guys, thank you guys for being active in the chat tonight. Now the Amazon thing, as of right now, from what I was reading over the weekend from a couple of those companies that are doing that, is right now you can still buy, like I just looked up Peter Townsend, his song, Let My Love Open the Door. That was a song that I had purchased off iTunes because that was the only place I could find it at that time. It is on Amazon, and I did find out how to buy it. there's some things that I was looking for like for the Beatles today. I could only buy it if I bought the whole album, which I didn't need to because I already had it. But as of right now, you can get your MP3s. But from what these companies are saying in their little descriptions of how their software work, they don't think Amazon's going to continue that for much longer. That they were going to let Apple be the guinea pig, and now that Apple's been doing it, and they're trying to get their Amazon live streaming thing going, I wouldn't be surprised if this ability to buy this song for $1.29 is going to be gone, and sometime in the future. Hopefully not for a while, because that's about the only place. If somebody comes up with that weird song out of left field, and you're like, okay, now I got to try to find it.
How many versions do you want? Because I just found a whole bunch of versions.
No, depends where you're looking.
Here's the thing that I also kind of it baffles me, I guess, in some aspects, right? So Amazon is as big as they are, Apple is as big as they are. You know what? In my viewpoint, what does it hurt to have servers with these songs loaded where they're making? Yes, I understand they're potentially making more off the streaming, and they're seeing their sales numbers of these MP3s going way down. But in the same respect, I kind of wonder, like, at what point is it serve them, or is it so bad that they don't, like, oh wow, let's get rid of it? Like, why not just keep it?
That's a really confusing thing. It's because Apple has a way of only limiting you can only have 5 computers authorized to play a song. So I can have my main laptop, my secondary laptop, and then a couple of them in the house to play a song. And then that's it, 5 computers. They can control that. They've controlled that for years. And there were times where I deauthorized my DJ computer for some stupid reason. And then I was at a show, and it's like, oh crap, I can't play those songs. I have to now try to find internet, which I did and got it going again. So they've had the ability to manage that, and that's why it's just so confusing. Why are they taking that away when they could have managed it as they were?
Because if you download that song has potential to be given or sold to other people. The stream song, you can't. That's all it is. They're controlling the end revenue. But
there's no way, if it's not authorized on one of those 5 computers, there's something in the song file that only responds to the authorization on one of those 5 computers. So I could give you the track, and there's no way that you're going to get that track to work, even if you did purchase it, or you had that song authorized in yours. If I gave you the track, the audio file, even though you'd have to download it yourself because you couldn't play it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They're controlling that, whether it's sold or given. That if I want it, I have to go through my own channels.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to control.
Yeah, and
if they have the ability to lock it down.
Yeah.
Then they have the ability, like, without having, they have the ability to lock it down with a sold piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they can lock it down per computer. It's like, that was great. Then as DJs. So I'm going to start a letter writing campaign.
Ah!
Dear Tim Cook. I'm going to see how far I get. I think I can
luck
do it.
With that one.
I think I can do it.
Yeah.
I'll send him a picture of my little poodle as and she's riled up. That'll take care of it.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. I mean, my reply on because we have this, like, you all know that I'm not a people person, but I'm on one group chat with 2 other people, and they're both on this video tonight. The only group chat.
I was like, wait a minute, what other group chat are you on?
The only one. And John was mentioning about this being a topic, and my reply back, I think, was about the most appropriate. But my reply back is, don't use an Apple then, use Windows. But that isn't a solution for everybody. I mean, I know in my mind it is that simple, but feel free to expand on that.
But I mean, well, even with that, MJ, so if you're on a Windows machine, and if you're wanting to stay as legitimate as possible, and you're really concerned about the music sources that you're playing, I don't even, besides Amazon, I mean, there are places you can go and you can buy songs from. I just don't think there are that many sources out there. Beyond, you get your pooled, you can get music videos, as Dan was saying, to get some of the oldies. But to buy some of that stuff, if once Amazon's no longer servicing us, we're kind of in a tough spot to be considering ourselves legitimate. So we've been now forced to go to illegitimate ways to get our music. And then once that's done, it's like, well, we're breaking the law anyway, so we might as well go to Fred's music download service from France, where we can download 20,000 songs that are the hottest songs ever and be done, and pay him $99. And
or what I mentioned to you, because you said you had a bunch of promo only CDs. I think that's going to be a market.
I think it might be, and as I was thinking about this, is the number of songs as I was going through that 1,600 list are songs that I had and I used to play, and it's like, okay, the version I ripped back in 2009, which was I'm having huge problems with some of those early songs because we didn't know how to rip them properly, and the software back then wasn't that good.
Saving space too. You didn't want to didn't want to rip them.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So 160 was what most of them were ripped at that particular time, and I thought that was great. Well, now I want to do better than that. So there's been times where it's like, okay, I know I've got this, and I don't like this version. Oh, look, it's on iTunes. Click buy. And now I've been playing the iTunes version of this song for the longest time, just to replace things with the higher quality. Well, now I'm thinking to myself, maybe I need to go and grab my CDs and start going through and ripping them at that higher rate.
Like you said, some of the older songs that, like in the future, I know you can get stuff illegally. I think this show is not about finding it illegally, because I did a show a while back about that and caught a lot of heat. But I don't care, obviously. But there are people who do want to go the legal route, and getting the older songs to be playable inside a music software is going to be, I think, is going to be very difficult in the future. If you can get them, you're probably going to pay a lot for them, to where you're playing. What was it, Dan? That one on Amazon was $1.30.
$1.29.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So in the future, to buy, you might have the option to buy it, but it may cost you $5 or $10 per song. So buying someone else's CDs could be an option, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's what it comes down to, is money. If they could figure out a way to make money for anything, like literally, if they could say, I can make money from shaking a baby, there would be people out there shaking babies, no doubt. Period. Whatever in this world, if someone can figure out a way to make money, it doesn't even matter if it doesn't matter.
If
they'll
it's
do it.
Dangerous or
someone will do it.
Yeah, there's definitely people out there doing that.
I love the chat tonight. You guys are freaking awesome. Thank you all. I haven't been answering anything. I'm just reading them. I'm like here with my popcorn going.
Yeah, Howie mentioned buying a CD and such. Yeah, you can certainly buy those. One thing I do like about and why I purchased most of my albums from Amazon is because I bought the album and then it included the MP3 files.
Yeah.
So I was able to, that's most of my Amazon music library is full albums that I have purchased.
Yeah.
Which was a kind of a nice little benefit. Not that I use it, because most of the stuff that's up there is not DJ, except Huey Lewis. That's DJ playable. Everyone plays that.
Eventually.
Everybody plays that. Everybody likes their, yeah. But some of the other stuff, the Van Halen stuff and Chicago
But you know what, MJ? While we're already drinking, we might as well go there. That will probably eliminate a certain software if the only thing available is streaming.
I know. I was really thinking about that. Poor DJ. What are those guys from Algorithm? What are they going to do? They had Spotify and they lost it. They had and they lost it. And then they went to a subscription service and, poor guys.
But you do realize that other softwares only works on Macs.
I don't have to worry about it.
It could be sucked into that Apple world, to where it could be, we'll give you this music and we'll let you also play it on this software, sort of thing.
And that's actually what I was kind of surprised at is that Apple hasn't come out with a solution for that. You would think that they would know that there are potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who are entertaining with their music service. And I would think there's enough of a market to that they would charge $30 a month and let you download stuff, and then every month it has to refine it or do that kind of thing. You'd think there's enough of a market for that.
Is there a different? Because I'm pretty sure there is different copyright stuff that venues have to pay for, how's it worded? Entertainment and performance. So you can have a DJ singing, what was the other song you had there? Open the Door by Pete Townsend.
Yeah.
Right. I had to think what that was. So
Yeah.
you could have a DJ playing Pete Townsend and then someone coming the next night and singing Pete Townsend, and they have to pay two different royalty rights for that.
They would have to pay. Well, you've got ASCAP, BMI, and
No, not
and then
per ASCAP BMI. There's one that you, let's say Pete Townsend was only on ASCAP. So if I were to play it, that venue would have to pay a entertainment copyright to ASCAP, which is a certain amount. And then someone coming singing it, they would have to pay, because a performance copyright is 3 or 4 times as expensive as that, because places, that's what they got busted for, was DJs playing stuff they thought they were paying for the coverage, but they're only paying it for entertainment, not performance. And then someone comes and performs and they get busted for not that, and that's where it gets expensive. So in this world of copyrights, does that throw that off between owning, streaming? Are they going to define that in the future? We're going, sure, we'll let you stream it, but it's going to cost you 4 times as much.
Yeah, it certainly could. I mean, there's there's ASCAP, BMI, and then there's the SECAC or something, that's SEAC or whatever. There's the third one. I think the third one is what you're referring to, because that's one that flies under the radar, and I believe that's one that deals with.
They all deal
writers.
with performance, or they all deal with that. So if you have a venue that's all live performances, you have to pay a different thing to ASCAP than if it was a DJ playing it. It's, like I said, it's an entertainment copyright or a performance copyright. That's the difference.
So I wonder if if Amazon and iTunes, and we're just basically sticking with those two, if those two basically go away from the ability to download the MP3 version, all right, the piece that the digital copy that you can hold without having to renew. Okay. If they end up going away, do you feel that there might be a third group that would come in? I wonder if any of our legitimate, pools that we use for music would be able to leverage and be like, listen, we realize we're not talking about the big scale, but we still have a grouping of people that want to be able to get these old ones. Can we renegotiate our deals and sell on your behalf these old versions?
And
that's money.
Yeah, and there's the thing is, it's so much money and so much hassle to license that. And it's not so much that the promo onlys of the world don't want to do it. They would love to do it. And even though it would cost more money, they just don't know if they invested a ton of money into getting that system set up, because they were working on, they wanted at one time to have a one-off buying ability. And that would have been able to handle some of this situation. And maybe this is still in the works. I've not talked to them and over here on this specific part. But it was the managing of it, and the Harry Fox agency that kind of oversees much of this and would be the ones that would make the recommendations for the labels to get involved with it. They're not, it's not big enough potatoes for them to get into.
If I'm correct, and this kind of throws it in there. I know I read it the other day. If you want to license, I think it's here, September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, because it's the thing that people don't really realize. It's not who wrote the song or who sang the song that owns the song. So the song is owned by who owns the song. And that one, if I'm correct, is owned by 5 different people on all of the copyright services. So if the promo only or something was going that route that you're talking about, they would have to cover all of those just to be able to play that song. That's where it gets, it's not like John puts out a song and I pay John for usage of the song. John owns the song, his wife owns the song, his neighbor owns the song, they all own the song, and I have to create a deal where it makes them all happy that I'm letting hundreds and thousands of DJs to play on it. Play with.
They're probably in the situations of like an Amazon and an iTunes and that, to where, or Apple rather, to where they could say, okay, listen, I might have to pay $5 for this song, but over here I only had to pay 20 cents. And so in the end, we meet in the middle somewhere, and I come out with $1.29 for each one. And so some I lose, some I gain, and in the end I come out ahead.
Yeah, it's really tough to say how they come up with their pricing and justify whether it was the 99 cents, $1.29, whatever. But I think that that there's more than just one person that has their hand out when it comes to licensing of music is the big part, between who does own it, and then sometimes, unless they've signed the rights off, the artist does get a kickback from it. Whoever wrote the song could be getting there's different aspects to that process, and it could be 5, it could be 2, it could be 10. It's really hard to say. Each one's going to have a different situation, and that's where the Harry Fox agency became kind of a clearing for that type of stuff, because they're the ones who keep track of that. But they don't have the time enough to or the staffing to be chasing after DJs to figure out, what songs you played. And then, okay, so you played these 25 songs last night. That's going to be, $7.53. I take credit?
That could be a thing in the future that could turn this all around, is that it could be a requirement within the software, and this is going to irritate some DJs bad, that they have to track, to own the software, it tracks what you play, then reports that in, and then you pay a fee on what you play. So if you're a quick mixer, you're going to pay more a night than a slow mixer. If you play hits as opposed to underground, you're going to pay more than the underground. And I think that is something that is feasible, a rate to be put out like that. But
I think we'll see kind of a little bit difference though with that, because there is, and of course we, unfortunately we stand in while we may have 100,000 of us across the US or whatever it is, we're still such a small potatoes. But the idea of, technically that's what the ASCAP and BMI payments are supposed to go to, that venues are supposed to have, is to cover that. I mean, I've heard it said, we can pretty much play whatever we want, however we got it, right? Because as long as you're playing in a place that pays the ASCAP and BMI. The problem is we're not technically allowed to own it. So we can't get in trouble for playing it. That's where that's taken care of, but we get in trouble for having it and owning it. And so there's that really fine line of the way we get nailed for it. So I think there'd be some potential pushback. And again, we'd probably lose because of our size, but that's what that playing, keeping track and paying based upon what we play, that's what those licenses are for. And to cover that.
And in discussions with those, when we did that, and I don't remember, it was a year or two ago, whatever, is that there was interest in it. If we could put together a list of 2,000 songs that were the most played, that there could have been a clearing of a library for mobile DJs. It's just a question of what would those 2,000 songs be.
But are those 2,000 songs covered by radio edit only, or any version of that song?
Those are another question of it. Okay, so then what version of it? And is each version constitute a song? So that means
a separate
exactly.
Thing, yeah.
So it became that path of, as a person went down that, and we talked about that, is it could get really hairy. And then of course then it might be 10,000 songs you need because of multiple versions and different formats and things. Their idea is that if they're going to do something like that, they want to have one back library that gets licensed. And everybody uses that back library, and then you can get your have your pools for your newer stuff.
I guarantee I'm not going to want anything that's there, because still to this day, older songs I'm downloading, I am not downloading the album version.
Yeah, and there would be the thing, is that most likely you would be talking album versions, because there's a lot of DJs, a lot of wedding DJs out there, and they're the ones who are going to most likely be pony up the $5,000 to buy access to the library for their lifetime. Whereas a lot of bedroom DJs, they don't make anything. So why would they do it? If they can find a way to pull the songs off YouTube or wherever, that's the way it is now. Whereas before, they might have said, you know what, I just want the songs I want, I'm going to buy them off iTunes, so I can feel like I'm sponsor or helping the people who are creating the music that I play. To a point, for many DJs, that aspect is going to be taken away from them. So, yeah, they could still have the download.
What you're going to hope for is that streaming that you can then take offline anytime you want.
Exactly.
I think in the future, it's going to be really hard to purchase actual digital copies of stuff.
I think so.
And then the other, and this brings up the ugly, argument that we haven't even talked about. To let's assume for a second the IDJ poll and the Deezers and things like that, and let's use Spotify as a prime example of what we saw 4 months ago now, where suddenly an artist decides that they're going to get mad and say, you know what, I'm not going to have my music on that service anymore.
Good point.
And now we couldn't download it because that service doesn't exist, and what I use, or if they just, what I use is not available. Now I'm like, I'm SOL. So what other potential directions do we end up going with that? I do see one other potential coming up out of this groundwork, right? If this Amazon and Apple Music just continues to go down that path, which it is, but let's just say it does. All right. I see more and more pools that are illegal under the cover. Okay. They might have some legitimate pieces, but there's other things that are not. More and more of them are going to pop up. Mm-hmm. I think without a doubt, there's going to be more and more. If they weren't already, they will find a way to do it.
Well, just to prove that point, Dan, I got a message today about a service out there. And what this service will allow you to do is to create a group of people, and they have got servers around the world, and you can go and you set up a music folder somewhere. And that small group of people that you've invited, well, now this folder is out in the world somewhere, but it's hidden basically from everybody else. And it's not one music server, it's around and your group of friends that you are all sharing that same library of music. And it's a popular little site on the dark side, maybe not the dark internet, the dark web, but I mean it's the back Reddit room type of access.
There's already stuff like that. My entire library is online, and people need something. I just, if I like you, I'll give you the link to it.
Yeah, but this would be.
So I mean, there's already people out. I know for a fact the one club I DJ'd at, they have four different styles of music on Dropbox, and if you're one of the DJs, they'll let you have access to it and get what you need for that night. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's all out there. I mean, people are already doing that.
See, and I think in a service like that, if one of the DJs would become disgruntled, and if they would turn that in, there's where the problem lies. This particular service, if one of the group becomes disgruntled, they could try to turn it in, and it doesn't exist. They can never track it down because they've got it hidden in such a way. That's when you get into that foreign. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I mentioned the French server. The music, the music and different copyright things in France is a little bit different
like
world.
Deezer's in France.
Yeah. It's a different.
I want to say two things. Somebody mentioned this in the chat a while ago, and I definitely want to iterate on this. And I haven't found a person yet that disagrees with this. Curate your own library. Do not rely on online stuff. Use it as a backup, but curate. Don't take that chance, because crap, like Dan said, the artist or the record label or anything can happen, and you have that one version you've been playing for years. Now all of a sudden you have no access to it. So number one, curate your own library, and number two, how many of you out there like me, the Apple and the Amazon thing, I have never downloaded a song from either one of those. So who out there like me that there's nothing about either one of those, they could blow up today and it wouldn't hiccup my life whatsoever? Is anybody else out there like that?
And I think that, Dan, you've done iTunes stuff, haven't you?
I mainly stick to Amazon, but
okay.
yeah.
But you have done it, yeah. And I think that part of it is mainly because of our we getting requests, and that's something that you probably don't get as you curate your library in for specific songs and specific
No, I just get them elsewhere.
But you do. You're not taking requests and going then when for a song that you will probably never play again. Most likely not. You're not going to go and buy that Conway, Hello Darlin' from Conway Twitty.
No, but if I need it, I'll grab it offline.
Yeah.
Through one of the services that I pay that's illegal. I don't need to go to Amazon or Apple. I can just go to one of the other. Let's see how many versions of that that I can find. Because I've had this thing open all night, and every time you mention something, I'll do a search for it, and I'll go, here's 7 versions of it.
Hello Darlin'.
I think what also makes a little bit of a difference is, in yes, I could access those same type of things in advance, those same type of sites in advance. My kind of philosophy behind it, and I think kind of the same idea that some of these other people that run into it is, we're going to attempt to do it as legitimately as possible, and for a couple different reasons. One might be out of fear. Okay, that might be a straight up thing, is fearful that some point, some way, somehow I'm going to access something the wrong way, or somebody's going to come back at me. That might be a small portion of people that feel that way. But then I think there's another portion of people who feel that if I am running my business as a legitimate business, then every aspect of that business should be legitimate. Right? If I'm
fall into that, Dan, like legitimately, what I didn't mean to do legitimate on top of your legitimate.
That's
but
right.
What do you think?
Of that last one?
Yeah, like what percentage do people think fall into that 100% legit, all that? Just your idea. I don't think there's a right or wrong.
No, I think it also comes down to what category of DJs that we're talking about. So, for example, if we're talking about mobile out playing in an event DJ, I think that's probably 15 to 20%.
Wow. I would guess less than 8%.
Of the ones that are actively out playing.
Yes.
Okay.
Most of them, I think, don't care.
Okay.
They can get what they want.
And you very well might.
They can, but if somebody wants it for a wedding, they're going to get it no matter what.
Let me rephrase that. Notice I said I didn't say stay 100% legit. Okay. I said stay as legit as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Looking for opportunities.
So exactly. When, like, for example, if I have a couple that comes to me and they ask for this song and there is no way possible for me to get it, I would agree. There's probably less than 1% of DJs that do this for a mobile aspect that would say, sorry, doesn't exist. Yes, it does. It's on YouTube. Sorry, I'm not going to do that. You're right. I think that's less than 1%. However, I think 15 to 20% would stay. I'm going to stay as legitimate as possible and use those resources only as a last resort.
Yes, and I've heard that discussed many a times. Is that if they can say, okay, I can get it, I can pay the $1.50 here and buy it, or I can download a version over here that's coming from YouTube or whatever. I'm going to spend the money in most cases, but. There are those times. That's
a given. I'm just talking about, I honestly think in this mentality of the DJ doing it legally, I just think there's a lot of DJs out there that say, oh, absolutely, I'm going to do it legally. But if you actually knew them, that would be a full-out lie. I guarantee there are boatloads of DJs who claim that all my stuff's legal, and it's not. I guarantee they probably every single week download stuff that's illegal, and just tell everybody to try to up there, look at me, because I think there's a lot. The world's full of liars, and DJs are the hyped, biggest smoke and mirror people there are.
And I would go as far as I don't know if there's any DJ that I know of that has a complete 100% legal library. There's going to be songs.
75%.
I think I know of one. But only one.
Yeah, that would be it. I mean, my library, I bought a lot of music over my lifetime, but there are a couple of songs that I can only get off YouTube that were not available other places. It's just I've gotten a couple of songs from friends when I've needed something because I couldn't get access, whatever. So we've all got it, mainly legal. If you count 95% legal or purchased music. Okay, now I'm hitting that one.
I would honestly say in the whole DJ community, like all across all different genres of types of DJs, that I bet that 75% of all DJs have less than 50% of their songs gotten legally.
Yeah, I think it might even be.
Most DJs don't have half a library that's done legally.
Yeah, I think it might even not even be that. I think you might be looking at that 2/3 of the DJs out there do not have a mainly legal library.
Yeah.
I would say, because there's very few.
It's hard to. I mean, straight off the bat, it's hard to do that.
Well, even when Nick was on, there are some songs that he would like to have that aren't in the promo only, and he's said that is just the reality of the situation. So he's had to go to sources to find some tracks for his own personal play. They got a lot of the newer stuff but if you're looking for something that falls in the cracks, that gets to be really, really tough. I mean, if you want to find what was it, Tiffany's version of "Love Is a Battlefield." You can't find that everywhere.
MJ's looking right now.
Yeah.
The one cheating service I have does not have any Conway Twitty, and I respect them even more now.
I think there's also people, and Scott in the chat mentioned, in a rural area can't depend on bandwidth, and I think that's where you have some of the other people that fall into I would do the streaming, but. And I think some of them have obviously made some leaps and bounds with that, and I think some of the services do that. But I think some of the struggle also within that idea is kind of the fight of fear that the song will go away, so that's why they want to make sure they have the physical digital copy, okay? But also. And I agree with maybe their mentality of the cost, but Spotify's $10 a month, maybe they're 12 now, whatever. But they're 10 to 12, and some of these services are 40, 50 a month. And I recognize that it's because of the idea of how it's consumed and what we're using it for. So the thought is it should be more expensive. But I think it's hard sometimes for some of these groups to say, okay, I'm spending $40 for the physical copy. Now I'm turning around and spending $40 for maybe I will use it.
Mm-hmm. And that's
like
real.
I feel like, MJ, you were talking about within that paying so much. I think that it would be kind of the thought where some of them would go is if it kept track of how much you streamed from them, and that was like a prorated amount of what they charge you. I think there could be, up to a certain maximum fee.
Yeah.
I think that I could get behind, a little bit different than just the. I'm keeping track, and if you play 1,000 tracks, then you're getting charged $400 this month. Well, okay, different story.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're going to pick whatever way. I think why it's being held back so much, and I just opened something up, so if I'm freezing, let me know.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You're trying to download "Love Is a Battlefield" from Tiffany, aren't you?
I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
But what I think is that I think this is my big skeptical mind behind all this is that the reason they haven't decided on something is because they haven't figured out what way they can make the most money.
Yeah, totally. They're businesses. They'd be dumb not to. I mean, that's the purpose, is to make as much money. And so obviously, as you said it before, to control the end result in such a way that makes them the most money in the end. But we're sitting here going, hey, we're an industry that wants to be, that we're talking about how we get our access to these tracks that are older, and I think, I think about my son. He's at some point wanting, he says he wants to come along and do this, with me.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to try and be legitimate and build his collection the right way, oh crap, that might not be exactly feasible. So, yeah.
Can't find "Love Is a Battlefield" by Tiffany. Well, I haven't checked Deezer. Let's see if it's on Deezer. Conway Twitty's like nowhere. Yep, I can get it. I could play it right now from Deezer. I could play like a zillion different versions of it. The Glee cast did a version I can play. If someone said, I want the Glee version of that, I can stream it.
You can do that.
There's a lot of... There's probably... Oops. Does Twitty have two T's in it? Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole lot of Conway Twitty on Deezer too. So that's why I subscribe to both of those. I'm not going to get the edited versions that I want on there, but if push comes to shove, I can play a song that someone wants, no matter how stupid it is.
And one of the big things with with Pro only, why I like that is because they go through and they've cleaned up many of the songs for that.
That's a tough thing for DJs who need both sides of that.
Yeah,
it's crucial. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's literally, I don't remember what song we were looking at. Some Doja Cat stuff, and you've got the clean edit, and you've got the not so clean edits that are going through there. Yeah, and it's like, okay, that's good to have. I'm not going to be playing the other versions because of playing in schools, but that's one of those things that if I'm on a streaming service, Spotify specifically, I may not have that option to play or decide which one. I might just stumble across the other one.
That's why for me, everything that I want to play, that I'm going to be playing out, I can't get from a legal service. Because they're not going to have a twerk redrum of
Conway
Billy
Twitty?
Joel's Had to Be a Big Shot. I actually have a Dr. Dre version of, NWA version of Had to Be a Big Shot. Stuff like that you're not going to find on a major service. So a lot of that just doesn't affect me, and I'm just wondering how many other DJs out there. I mean, the wedding DJs are a little bit more mainstream in what they need, but there's got to be both the EDM crowd too. Everything they play is another version of the version.
Yeah, and if they aren't, if they can't find a download source for that, most of the music that they would be using isn't on iTunes and isn't.
They would then make it themselves,
or they have to. Yeah, so there's. Yeah. So it'll be an interesting time to see how this all comes together.
Before we end here, John, I want your final word on this.
Yeah.
Time frame you think some of these changes would take place, because you are very good at judging things when it comes to, I see this happening within the next 2 years, next 5 years, what do you think with this music service stuff, where it's going to go? What do you think we're going to see in any of this?
2024 is going to be the year. I think that that's when things are going to really shut down. And I'm putting this on because there's some technology changes coming out of Apple again, and I think Apple's the forefront runner in this realm. So I think in 2024 we're going to be really changing how we handle this, and it might be that this becomes a limiting factor for DJs getting into our industry, and it might be a good thing for those of us who have been there and have what we need, or it could be time for guys that are by another 2 years. You're talking, I'll be in my mid 50s. It might be that the hassle's not worth it anymore, and it's time to go play my Conway Twitty record and my Huey Lewis record, and call it a day. You're welcome, guys.
One thing I want to mention, and I'll give a plug for DJ Rachel. It was probably about 2 months ago now, maybe a month and a half. She put out a video that kind of went through quite a bit of the streaming and ins and outs of it. And MJ, I'm sure you've done shows as well. I just happened to see the short version of the video that she did. What was that?
Didn't see.
I didn't see yours because yours is an hour long. Hers was like 20 minutes. But with that in case, just do a quick search for either of them, and you get a better understanding of the fact that you don't have to be as afraid of that streaming option as maybe you were 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If not even just 2 years ago. So, keep that in mind. Don't just automatically chalk it off. Check some things out, because when I saw those and started hearing and realizing, oh, the cue points can go in and they will stay in. And, because that was one of my biggest fears. It's like, okay, great. And now I set all these cue points, and then, a month down the road, I decided to go back to it. Oh, now it's gone. Like now that my cue points are gone, and all that kind of stuff that's still there. So
tag anything with a special genre, any of that all stays there.
Yeah. So definitely
nice.
Something that you'd want to, invest some time in research, if nothing else.
For sure. Okay. So up next, in about 30 seconds, Howie, DJNTV.com/chill. Howie is going to be leading the crew tonight, talking about wedding couples that have regrets about not prioritizing the entertainment at their receptions. And a lot of us have heard the stories. They're going to be kind of talking about that. Again, DJNTV.com/chill. You guys can pop out there and hang out with the guys. And I think let's wrap and go, Dan.
All right. So on that note, thank you very much for spending some time with us. Have yourself a great night. We'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.